It starts with collecting of flowers and categorizing them into different colors, and we cut them into pieces and then we shred them. So those kind of stages of the process just involves many days and hours, and in the midst of it I feel as though there are many conversations that take place, especially with my parents and I. So there have been conversations between my mom and I about her wedding blanket, and I feel as though that they were recreating sort of new blanket together, because I saw them doing the installation. They did most of the floor installation at the Hudgens. They became proficient in it, and so yeah, it's so much more than just the fine aesthetics, the image of what it is. It's really about just making it. My work kind of divides it into two: the content of memory and loss, and sort of that fantasy about the childhood and the past, but it also talks a lot about, and the beauty and fragile and vulnerability and all that, but I also talk about labor and just the process of just art making, and the hours of just the manual labor and almost an obsessive behavior that's involved in the work. So it's changing, I think, because now I feel as though some of that personal content has been filtered out a little bit, and now I'm able to just really think about just basic elements of art, like going really back to my love for colors and space and scale and things like that. My parents and I reach at some points where you're about to give up, we can't, it's just too hard, we have body aches, and so it's physically demanding, therefore emotionally you become very vulnerable. But towards the end, when you see the final product, and installing is always really fun, even though it is painstaking, because people are somehow very drawn to that, knowing that it's very vulnerable and fragile, but it's colorful, and people are just sitting on the floor just doing it for days, so therefore there are a lot of interesting conversations that come out of the installation weeks, and so I love it. It was just a and natural product of where this was going and where this was going, and how I just worked and think about things, and but it ended up being that, okay, I can't sell this, but I can provide visual experiences. And I'm an artist. A lot of contemporary artists are not necessarily bounded by, I'm a sculptor, painter, I'm a video, you just tap into different things. So I see possibilities of some of my works becoming available for purchase, by just painting, doing some video work, but I don't feel as though that's an important question. I know that sounds very maybe naive, but just do my work, and I guess the price will help too. So I wanted to really just focus on colors and see how I could acquire the language of my mother's blankets patterns and the colors into my own language. So a way for me to approach that was by doing small magazine paintings, and that helped me to see, oh, I can paint that on the wall, why not? So I just went for it, and I lucked out with the space because there's a freestanding wall that I could extend out from, and I was like, it would be such a waste if I left the wall blank, and I thought, I'm not a painter, but I wasn't really talking about painting when I was doing that installation, but I was altering the space just a little bit, and I wanted to just talk about, not just about what my work has been, but a new possibility. So coming to States definitely changed everything. I was a very verbal girl. I loved to talk and write, but all that sort of communication went away when I came to States. So I naturally just drew myself to visuals, and I just along the way met amazing art teachers and mentors, and I just kept at it. I don't know, and it evolved, and I realized that art making somehow touched kind of deep interiors of my life, and it was so connected that I couldn't let go. It is a difficult commitment. It really is. At some point after I graduated too, I wasn't getting any jobs, you know. It was very, very... Honestly, before this prize, going up to Virginia, I was going to drive and I didn't know how I was going to pay my gas, you know. It's really difficult, you know, and I understand that. And I just ended up being very fortunate at the right time. But just be patient and be committed. I think it's more than just, I love drawing and painting, and I love, it's more than, it's a commitment. So I just really would encourage young artists to just be patient and be committed. And that's what one of my mentors told me. I do get a lot out of what I do. I don't know how to share that, but some of things are personal, some of things are just, and it's just work too, you know?
Yeah.
Someone told me, like, first day I freaked out because like all these artists are exhibiting and I'm just like, you know, young artist, and I was talking to my friend how I was feeling very the pressure, you know, and he's like, just go and do your work. That's what you like doing, just do your work. I was like, okay. When I was going to college, I loved painting, and I know that I still do. I just haven't painted as much. I love drawing, but I also love performance. I hesitate a lot before I do it because it is more, you have to expose yourself in different ways, but I love it. Of course, installation, I mean, working with the space is just an amazing experience. So I'm not sure if I can call myself as like I'm very good at something and I prefer something. I just really love just visual experiences. That's really, I don't know, yeah. It was more than an institution. It was really about people whom I came across during my education. Amazing professors that I met at UGA and some of the colleagues and experiences that I was able to have. And then at SCAD too, like, I just ended up having really great professors at the time, and my colleagues, my friends were amazing. We still keep in touch, and not everyone is here, but so it was really about the relationships that I think I really cherish. I learned so much. When I was in grad school, like, Anne Hamilton was my huge kind of hero. Just because of her approach to art making, I know that there's a lot of research that's involved in her art making, and a lot of labor and accumulation of just materials that are so sensual and so. I never seen her work in person though. So someone like her, Feliz Gonzalez Torres, just some very obvious names, you know, but they're very important to me. Once again, to mention Feliz Gonzalez Torres, I talked about that at the other talk as well, but you know, his candy spells on the ground, I was stunned by it. And also Wolfgang Lab, you know, he was doing something on the floor too, but especially the candy pieces where audience could actually pick up something. And there's another piece that he did. There's nothing in the gallery, but he could just listen to the music on the headset, and people danced in the gallery. And I just thought that's really beautiful, you know, and poetic. And I'm not expecting the audience to get every bits of details of my content, you know, or understand it conceptually. There's a whole other audience for that, you know, but I think that because my parents are involved, it's important for me that the general audience understands or somehow can engage with it, and participation diminishes or reduces that intimidation, if that makes sense. Talking about my blog just a little bit, it just started out as a very casual art journal, you know, rambling of things. This is, you know, observations that I make and just put up my pictures and things like that. But one of my missions with my blog, I'm not a eloquent writer, but I love to share and communicate, and I know that there is a sense of intimidation about art and just that whole mystery about artists, and I don't think that's how it is all the time, you know. So if my close non-artist friends were able to read my blog and were able to enjoy and got more informed about what art making is and who artists are and how their lives are and how my life is, and also how my work evolves with my documentation on my blog, I feel that I have achieved something. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It came very natural to us because I grew up helping them at the dry cleaners from high school. So they owned dry cleaners and I just worked with them all the time. So it became very natural for us to work together. It was completely reversed though, but first of all, it doesn't require a lot of understanding about what art is. It's a manual labor. Second, it's really great. My parents do not necessarily, of course, understand, what contemporary art means and where it stands, but now they ask questions and they don't feel intimidated about it. And there have been really great conversations that I have had with my mother and father. The Hudgens was great because they really were warm and they welcomed my parents and made them feel so comfortable, even with the language and culture barriers. So have them to experience that for me is also like icing on cake. I'm very fortunate because a lot of actually Asian parents do not like it, and the reason of immigration to America is to have a successful life, and a lot of times the definition is very limited for many people. So so I think I consider my parents very just atypical.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've been very supportive, so I'm very fortunate.
Good.
So there will be a project with the Flux at Lenox, and it will be a large scale, and I would love to have people to be involved if anybody's interested. So because it's going to be a big scale, and we're kind of pushing it to have it in a few months, and especially during the installation or even the cutting, I'll be specifically looking for a few people who can be consistent, but if anybody's curious and would like to, it's open. We're gonna start cutting next week. You know what's really awesome? That they have the second floor that people can kind of look. I am so excited. Also because of the fact that people who don't normally go to our openings will be able to encounter it out of nowhere, and to see the involvement kind of over the period of weeks, to be able to experience kind of visual transformation of the space. We are assuming that it will take about a month to install and deinstall. So cutting will involve about 3 months of cutting with a specific number of people, not just 2 or 3, but we'll see. I'm still processing it. It's a really big deal, so it'll take some time for me to really realize what this is. It means a lot. It's a great, tremendous honor for me. This prize means that I can risk and I can expand the scales, which I am so excited about because my work is very labor intensive. So instead of just me individual labor and my parents, that I can possibly have more hands with the grant. So I'm very excited about the scale expansion. Yeah, it's such a big thing and it's a new thing. So I think people are still kind of processing and hoping for something more. And I hope for something more, that it wasn't just a one-time Oscar sort of thing, right? And it shouldn't be that way because we need to continue to support artists and arts community. But I think it has achieved the mission, of course, of bringing a lot of attention, even from general public. It was good that it was not in Metro Atlanta, but out of nowhere it's like North Gwinnett. So I know that some other demographics are gonna visit the center and they are gonna encounter really amazing artworks. All other finalists, their works are amazing too, and they're gonna be able to encounter it. All the North Gwinnett people too, hopefully. Not just the Metro mainstream Atlanta people. So I think that's important, and I really hope that this energy continues, and I wanna, just be a part of that. And